How you doing? I'm David Sancheesi, and I'm here to talk about the news of the day. All right, I'm gonna touch on a topic again that shows how the political elites, the Democrats, the communists, are using the power of the federal government to go after their political opponents. How again? And many of you know now, I used to be at NYPD, and I'm going to show you, and I'm going to poke holes in the story of what they're putting out. They're trying to say that this gentleman, who was a political prisoner, Kiss Worrell, was transferred out of DC Gitmo after a surprise inspection found deplorable conditions and denial of medical treatment. They denied him medical treatment because they said he was lying constantly about things that were wrong with him, which I know as a cop, if a guy tells you that he feels this, you have to have him checked out. If he goes again and says, I feel that, you have to go and have him checked out. You cannot deny a person medical access. They're treating these people that were arrested on January 6th worse than they would ever treat a terrorist in Guantanamo Bay. I remember reading about how the terrorists had to be granted their 5 hours of prayer, how they had to be given soccer fields, how they had to have all this stuff related to keep them from human rights violations. But yet we take American prisoners and we deny them medical care. We deny them access to lawyers. This is unheard of in America. But yet they're doing it because these are their political opponents, and they want to create a narrative that the January 6th prisoners were trying to overthrow the country. When we know now that is an absolute lie. As we saw them being waved in by police, we saw them being set up by FBI operatives. And it's not to say that what some of them didn't do wasn't illegal. You know, you can't walk into the Capitol. I understand that. But to charge them and keep them in prison like they have for crimes that no one's even been charged with, felonies, is ridiculous. On Wednesday, a federal judge ordered that a January 6th political prisoner be immediately transferred out of the DC Gulag after an unannounced U.S. Marshals inspection of the facility found detainees were forced to live in deplorable conditions and were denied necessary medical care. You got to see, if you doubt what I'm saying, look at, there's a prison in New York City called Rikers Island, and see how the inmates are treated, how they assault the guards, how they are treated with kid gloves. And you have this going on in a United States federal prison. We have to bring light to this because this is unacceptable in the United States of America. The defendant, Chris Worrell, was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma while incarcerated and has been denied his cancer treatments for months. So this guy was basically charged with entering the Capitol and given a death sentence in the United States of America. He will immediately be transferred to another facility outside of DC where they will release him into home detention as soon as possible so he can receive much needed chemotherapy for his worsening illness. How do these people live with themselves? They basically let this guy's cancer spread because of a political narrative. What is going on? Who are these people that are running our country? This is communist, straight out of the communist playbook. Like, I can't believe this is happening in our country. It's shocking. He's just one of 400 other inmates who will be transferred out of the jail. Unbelievably, none of the hundreds of other January 6 detainees are included in the transfers, according to reports. In his decision, Judge Royce Lamberth said the conditions at the facility were so terrible that they were beyond belief, and added that the court has zero confidence in Pelosi's gulag to provide proper treatment and not retaliate against Worrell if he was allowed to remain in her custody. This is infuriating. If you're not mad, it's time to start getting mad, people. This is the stuff we cannot allow to happen in our country. Because if you're watching this, there's a good chance you could be next. Because all they're doing is going after political opponents. They've gone after people who protested. They were going after parents in schools. They're going after people who talk on social media. And you could be next. We have to unite and stop allowing this stuff to happen in our country. Joe Biden's cruel and vengeful prosecutors still argue to keep Chris Worrell, a stage 3 cancer patient, convicted of no crime related to January 6th. Unacceptable. This is unacceptable. Some of the horrifying conditions that were, and this is what's upsetting about it. They knew that people were on this. They were denying Matt Gaetz. They were denying Marjorie Taylor access to this. And they had to know people were going to come eventually and find out what's going on. But they didn't care. Because there's no one being held accountable for crimes against Americans. This is really, really infuriating to me. And this is something that we have to address now. They were shutting off the water for days. Clogged toilets would fill the cells with sewage, and an inmate who developed an infection from being pepper sprayed after not being allowed to wash the chemical off for days. Water would be shut off as a form of punishment for the detainees who misbehave, often for several days at a time, taking away their ability to wash their hands, flush the toilet, or to even drink water. This is in America. Could you imagine? Keep in mind, these people are being subject to this kind of horrifying treatment are Americans. It's unthinkable. People who weren't even convicted of a crime yet being treated like this. And not even people convicted of crime should be treated like this. The report also gave evidence that the behavior of the staff at the jail was even worse than the unbelievable conditions. U.S. Marshals observed D.C. correction officers and staff agonizing detainees and denying them necessary medical care and threatening them to not cooperate with the marshals during the inspection. One was even seen telling a detainee to stop snitching on the staff, according to the report. These people should all be fired. They should be brought up on criminal charges. This is something they would do if this was anyone else outside of the January 6th detainees. They would be arrested. This would be national media, except this is, again, the government going after their political foes. This is so unacceptable. I can't even begin to explain how upsetting this is to me. Because, again, being former law enforcement, I could never imagine this being allowed to happen. Like, I'm totally in shock because I know at the place I worked in the NYPD, this would never, ever, ever happen or be allowed to happen. And then I see this on a federal level. Like, what else is going on? You hear these stories and you watch these TV shows, movies, and you laugh and say, all right, whatever. You don't think it's real. But then this stuff got to make you wonder, is it real? Does this stuff really happen? And apparently it does. The situation has gotten so bad that last month, Judge Lamberth urged Biden's DOJ to conduct a full civil rights investigation into the despicable mistreatment of the January 6 detainees under the watch of D.C. jail warden Wanda Patton and director of the Department of Correction Quincy Booth. I like to see who they donate to. I like to see what their political ideology is, because I guarantee you they're not doing this to anyone else but these prisoners. And if they are, they need to be held just as accountable. Nobody should be treated like this in the United States. Lamberth even went as far as holding the pair in contempt because they had repeatedly delayed paperwork that was needed to approve surgery for Worrell on his pinky finger after they deemed the procedure elective. I don't know if it's because he's a January 6th defendant or not, which should not make a difference, but I find this matter should be referred to the Attorney General of the United States for a civil rights investigation. And again, we're going to turn this over to the deep state, Merrick Garland, who is probably the worst Attorney General I ever saw. And I thought Eric Holder was pretty bad. But this guy, Merrick Garland, I'm so glad he didn't get put on the Supreme Court. But he is obviously just a puppet. He's weak. He's feeble. He looks like he doesn't know what he's talking about. And when I watch him, I'm just embarrassed that this guy could be in charge of the DOJ. Nothing will be done to these people because they'll just tell him not to. And that's it. According to court filings, federal prosecutors argued that Worrell was denied medical treatment because he lies about his health. You can't lie about having cancer. They either take you to find out if it's true or not. You see how these people just lie? You either have stage 3 cancer or you don't. And they refuse to treat him with it. So this is an answer that I don't find acceptable. Even being a supervisor of police before, I'm actually baffled, if you could tell by reading this stuff and the answers they have. These aren't even even good answers. This would never stand up. If they were arrested, because they should be, and they gave this answer, I'm sorry, they're liable and they're found guilty to me, because there's no way someone could tell you, oh, well, I have stage 3 cancer, I need to be treated, and you deny him that because you say it's not true. He's lying about his health. Maybe he did lie. Maybe he said he didn't feel good, he had a stomach ache, but doesn't mean deny him cancer treatment. If you know what I'm saying, this is such craziness. To support their bogus accusation that Worrell is lying, they cite medical notes and records the government later obtains in order to refute or at best unsubstantiate him needing medical treatment. Again, bogus. In other words, Worrell asked for medical assistance for an issue and the staff creates the records telling why he is a liar and he doesn't need it. Alex Stroveau, the attorney representing Worrell, was outraged, just like I am, by the characterization of his client, clarifying that every one of the medical issues he sought for help was valid and required some form of medical attention. Again, it doesn't matter if an inmate or a prisoner says something, you don't make that decision whether it's true or not. None of these people are doctors. They don't have medical degrees. And they're in prison. So you walk them to see the doctor, and the doctor will decide, not you. Mr. Worrell also suffers from non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. To date, he has not received chemotherapy. Did they decide he doesn't have that also? That's what I want to know. He has never caused any delay in seeking treatment for his cancer. We are pleased with the court's order allowing Mr. Worrell to obtain the life-saving cancer treatments he needs. We are also pleased that over 400 inmates will be transferred to facilities where they will receive proper treatment and care. Bottom line, I'm going to keep reading this. I just want you to show what these people in the government, what these Marxist, communist, disgusting Democrats will do to Americans who disagree with their ideology. This is something that I would say would happen in a place like Venezuela, in a place like China, in a place like Russia. And this is what I mean about opening the eyes of Americans. Maybe this has happened. I can't even imagine, because like I said, in my line of work, we would never, ever allow anything like this. But maybe the federal system is different. But the fact that this is allowed to go on and no one's being held responsible, there should be arrests made on this. And I'm no fan of inmates or criminals. And I'm not just saying this because they were January 6 arrestees and that I feel they were improperly arrested. I don't know all their stories. I don't know why each one was arrested. I can't say that. Maybe some of them did because there was some violence that went on that day. But I don't know what these people are charged with. But I do know no one in American prison system should be or is treated like this. You're sick, you need medical attention, you're supposed to get it. We don't deny people basic needs because we don't agree with them politically. If that was the case, probably 90% of the inmates are Democrats. And probably most of the guards are conservatives. Would they deny them because they're Democrats? That'd be an outrage. Anyway, I'm just trying to show people who might see this video and show what's going on in this country that if we don't put an end to what's happening, that these Marxist communists will just do this to everybody who disagrees with them. We already seen what they're capable of doing. We see what they're doing. And this is why we cannot tolerate this. This is why we have to get the voting done right. We have to unite as Americans who love their country and put an end to what's happening here. Anyway, just want to show you this and say that enough is enough already with this craziness going on in this country, and say God bless America, God bless all of you, and God bless our president, Donald J. Trump, who, if he wasn't who he is, many of us would not even know that this is happening in our own country because the media covers it up, and it's sad. Anyway, thanks for watching.